I guess. Alright, well, I guess since y'all are here, just wanted to, I guess I'll let y'all know ahead of time. This is my first review, which I'm going to be doing it's kind of somewhat improv. I hope you don't mind. But this is actually the first one that I'm going to be doing kind of more with a camera. I am going to have, the regular type of review stuff, but I'm going to try to make this a little bit more interactive, so hopefully it'll draw in some more people. Currently, I'm probably about the 75% way through Deus Ex, so if you have any problems with it, I understand that it's kind of an early review, but I do want to make time for it. I'm not trying to rush it, so to say, but I do have to get ready. As you can tell, next week I start the Halloween episodes, starting with Silent Hill for the Room. I'll talk about that next week, but hopefully these will be a little bit more interactive and a little bit more fun. I'm trying to draw in some people. I hope you don't mind about the change. Hope you don't I'm trying. But this week I am reviewing Deus Ex Human Revolution. Now, I'm going to be quite honest, I never played the original Deus Ex. I heard that it's an excellent game. I'm going to play it after I play this because for what I know, this is actually a prequel. This is not a sequel. So this kind of has given me a little bit of excellent backstory, might I add, of Deus Ex, and I will be picking up Deus Ex as soon as possible, especially since I can run it on my Mac. Deus Ex essentially is a first-person shooter with role-playing elements, and it manages to have a good kind of a Splinter Cell strategy level, so it's kind of got a perfect blend of every action genre, especially that. While there are a few concerns, and I'll get to that later, this game is no short of amazing in the sense that this is an excellent story. Last night, my sister and I actually were sitting there debating the philosophy behind this game. It's got an extremely deep philosophy and a very strong meaning, and if anyone that is a fan of the story and video games, this is definitely worth a look. And for people that don't play video games and think it's just a joke, this is an excellent title to actually try out. So essentially, if you haven't heard of Deus Ex, the synopsis is pretty much in the future. You play Adam, Adam Jensen, who he's kind of like a security manager for like this corporation in the future, and this is about 30 years in the future, and it's not too far away. And from what I can tell, that the place is kind of a dystopia, while it has some of the futuristic setting. Is essentially like a Blade Runner. Actually, it derives a lot from Blade Runner, especially with different color schemes and stuff like that. You're going to see a lot of yellow in this game, and you think I'm joking about that, but it's just constant yellow, and that's not a problem. I do wish that there was a little bit more branching out from that, but then again, I kind of understand the atmosphere that's trying to be created from it, so I will accept it. Especially doing the whole Ridley Scott thing, which I do think is interesting. But you play in the future, and you go to selected cities like Detroit, Singapore, and various other hubs in America and throughout the world. And Detroit still looks like shit. But it's kind of got a blend of you're either extremely rich or you're extremely poor. I'm not kind of I mean, I can argue with that, but yeah, it's just my inner capitalist bitching. But I do like the story. Don't get me wrong. But in the future, they kind of create the body modifications and stuff like that, so you can actually, like, if you lose an arm, you'll be able to get a new one and stuff like that. So the thing is that there's people that are for it, and those are mainly the people that are profiting off of it. And it's kind of like a prescription company, a modern prescription company. And then you have the purists, which are kind of a human revolution group, who are against it. And it does pose a good argument, especially if you think about it. It's kind of like an abortion argument. That's kind of connecting a lot, especially for a video game. But in the future, eventually, we're going to get to a point where we will be able to do those types of surgery, amputations and stuff like that, and we will be eventually able to replace things with, like, mechanical stuff or artificial things, something that was made in a factory, something that was made in a laboratory. And the argument is it's not natural, and a lot of people in the future eventually are going to get upset with this, because some people are going to be, it's not a natural order of things. Now, I would totally be on the, trust me, I'd like extra less than a chin. I'd be able to lift 500 pounds, whatever. But, yeah, you can't really, I can't sit on that argument. But then, the philosophy behind it is interesting and intriguing, and it offers a decent debate, which throughout the game you have to question, and that leads to an intriguing, involving story that you don't see in much games nowadays. Now, you play Jensen, who is a security, and throughout the tutorial, you learn how to use controls. Controls on the Xbox 360 are somewhat frustrating at first. It takes a lot of time to get used to, especially if you're playing other first-person shooters. But overall, you'll learn it, and it does become flexible in time. But you have to understand the control scheme first. So that was a bit of a problem for me. But overall, he gets nearly killed, and he comes back, and he's like modified to the point where his limbs are mechanical and everything. So he comes back 6 months later, and he finds out about who tried to kill him and who killed his girlfriend, who was one of the scientists that was involved in the robotics programs, especially the ones with the weapons. And that also brings in a other argument about weapon technology and the body modifications and how the government might use it for militarization and stuff like that. But it does establish a fairly interesting concept, and you do get invested into it as time goes by. It does throw you in at first, but over time you understand the story, and it becomes it becomes a great science fiction, especially that it can draw in an audience, and it can actually give a story, and people can actually follow it, which is kind of difficult, especially with the science fiction genre, if you don't play those types of games. So this is a game that everyone can be accessible to. Now, graphic wise, I do have a little bit of problems on the graphics. While there's a lot of pretty things in the game, there are some texture issues, and there are some character models that seem a little outdated. But Jensen's character is excellent in my opinion. He looks the character, and not to mention voice work. I'll talk about voice work later. But the character models kind of are oldish, but I can accept it, especially when you have such places that have dystopian themes to it, so it makes it a lot more interesting. And while you're looking at those types of things,